Holy superlatives, Batman! It's really exciting.
To the Batmobile. Let's go. Let's go.
Greetings, chess friends. My name is Robbie. I come from Glasgow in Scotland, and it's my desire to do a little chess video highlighting some general chess opening principles. Now, why do it? Now, the fundamental principle which underlies all chess games is the mobility of your pieces. And in the opening phase of a chess game, what is it that gives mobility to our pieces? It is, of course, the advancement of the pawns.
Great Scots! It's been almost an hour. What the devil are they doing?
And this formation of pawns, two adjacent pawns on the same rank, is called a pawn duel.
Holy heart failure!
We find it in this form, and in this form. Now, why have a pawn duel? Well, we've already said that it provides mobility for our chess pieces, but it's more than that.
I've just perfected an electronic hair bat analyzer which may hold the key to this baffling question.
Cecil J. Purdy, who was the first world correspondence chess champion, his estimation of an opening was not based on whether you had more control of the centre or whether your pieces had mobility, which are all fine and good things. But his assessment was based on the fact of whether your rooks had files to go to.
Holy hole in a donut!
And we can see that a pawn duel in the centre provides an excellent basis for our rooks having files, because his reasoning was that if your rooks have files, then naturally your other pieces will also generally have good squares which they can go to. And that was his rationale. Now let us look at some examples of a pawn duel. For example, we have the Scotch game, where white immediately forms a pawn duel in the centre. You have what is called Queen's Gambit, either accepted or declined, and we can see that white has formed a pawn duel in the centre.
Just a second while I retrieve my beanie, my hair, my tweezers, and my notes.
And even in king pawn openings like the King's Gambit, white goes about forming a pawn duel in the centre. And the idea of this, of course, is to open the F file so that he has a file for his rook.
Let's go. Let's go.
Now, if I can just flip the board. For black, it's not always so easy. If your opponent begins with a flank opening, for example, the English opening or the bird opening, then yes, it's fairly easy to establish a pawn duel in the centre. For example, play often continues like this. And here we have established a pawn duel in the centre. This is known as the reverse Grand Prix attack. And it's a fairly mundane affair to establish our pawn duel in the centre. And the same if we look at the bird's opening. Play often continues like this. And already we have established a pawn duel in the centre. We have good squares for our pieces, and most importantly, according to the first world correspondence chess champion, Cecil Purdy, we will have files for our rooks.
Here's a dime. Call Commissioner Gordon.
Now, sometimes, especially if white plays a pawn into the centre, it's just a little bit more difficult to establish two adjacent pawns in the centre. here or here, here or here, here or here. It needs preparation. For example, let us take an opening like the Sicilian Dragon.
Let's go. Let's go.
F3, castles, Queen D2. Now, black has already managed to get a pawn into the centre, his pawn to C5. But here he can get another pawn into the centre by playing the move D5. And this is reckoned as a good way of providing space for his pieces and of course files for his rooks. We see it again if we go back to the Coley system. This highlights what black is trying to achieve. Just reached the position. Of course, white establishes his pawn duo in the centre, but black is essentially forced to take this pawn because it will fork his two pieces here. But now, having played a pawn into the centre, black can prepare the move either e5 or c5, ensuring that he also has had two pawns, a pawn duo in the centre, here or here, and thus he'll have files for his rooks.
Let's go.
The reason I was prompted to make this little video was I saw a video of a chess coach and his student, and the chess coach was trying to explain to his student why after these moves the student should have played the move or prepared the move e5. Instead the student played some move like this, which of course does not meet the criteria of the position. Now, had our student simply been aware of the dynamic possibilities of a pawn duo, it would occur to him naturally, yep, I need to prepare the move e5. And he would have played, instead of this move here, he would have played knight e3, possibly queen c7, and the move e5, preparing a pawn duo in the centre. And just to show you the awesomeness of the dynamic possibilities of a pawn duo, let me just replay a game that I played on a correspondence chess site. Time for Chess. Both players are rated 1800. And here my opponent, who was white, played what is known as the London system. And immediately I thought to myself, well, I understand the dynamic possibilities of a pawn duo, and because my centre is not challenged, I can easily establish a pawn duo myself, and I did that with the move c5. So here's my pawn duo. Whoops. And my opponent played a kind of passive move. I'm putting pressure on these dark squares with my queen. Played queen c1. Knight f6, putting more pressure on these dark squares. And here he played a strange move, probably making room for the bishop, but I can win a pawn rather easily. And that's what in fact happened. And immediately I see the possibilities. Yes, I can establish another pawn duo. My opponent played this move. I moved here, and I immediately took the opportunity to establish a pawn duo. And he tried to sneak a pawn himself. It looks good, but it's tactically not working, because simply after this move he cheated the bishop, and he thought he could take my queen, but of course it fails tactically, to this move here. If he takes a queen, we have this beautiful pawn fork. So that really highlights the dynamic possibilities that are inherent in the pawn duo. And during your own games of chess, you don't need to learn reams of opening theory. You simply need to understand that having two adjacent pawns in the centre assures that your pieces have adequate squares to go to, and more importantly, your rooks will have files, ensuring that your pieces are mobile and that you have a good game. So that concludes our little video, and I thank you very, very much for listening. I was just concerned to make it because of the difficulty a student was having with his chess coach. And although the chess coach was explaining, yes, he needed to play such a move, if he just understood that the goal of many chess openings, in fact the majority of chess openings, with the exception of hyper-modern openings, is to establish a pawn duo in the centre. So thank you very much for your time, and I wish you well. Regards, Robbie.
Tune in tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat